In the first reading today, we hear one of the two times where Moses steps into the breach. It's actually spoken about in the Psalm as well. He spoke of exterminating them, meaning Almighty God. But Moses, his chosen one, withstood him in the breach to turn back his destructive wrath. Not that Moses of himself could have possibly done anything against the destructive wrath of Almighty God. But you see how God is saying this. He says, go down at once. Your people have become depraved. And he's saying, I'm going to destroy them and raise you up as a great nation. And Moses implores, why, O Lord, should your wrath blaze up against your own people? And he's crying out to God for them. And God is saying, yes, that's what I wanted. I want you to love them as much as I love them, so that you would stand in the breach for them. And this is God's love for us, that He raises up someone like Moses to stand in the breach. And then in the gospel, though, this was a harrowing word when I read this, that do not think that I will accuse you before the Father. The one who will accuse you is Moses. And he's the one that stood in the breach for the idolatry of the Old Testament. Wow. Uh-oh. But Jesus is using very strong language here because He wants their hearts to turn. He recognizes that Judeans are hard of heart. He healed this man who had been sick for 38 years at the pool of Bethesda. And instead of seeing this miracle, they're so hardened because this guy is carrying his bed on the Sabbath. And so that created the last 2 days of dialogue between them and Jesus. And Jesus is saying, but don't you see? I'm not testifying on my behalf. There are 4 different people that are testifying on my behalf. I've got John the Baptist. I've got my works which come from the Father. I've got the Father Himself who's testifying on my behalf. And then I've got what was the 4th thing? The Scriptures, that's right. The Scriptures are testifying on my behalf. You'd think I'd remember that. But, so these 4 things. And yet, you don't believe me. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this for my own sake. I'm not saying this because I like to argue, Jesus is saying to the Judeans today. Saying, I say this so that you may be saved. Trying to place before them the call of Almighty God. Even so far as saying, I know you don't have the love of God in your heart. Whoa. But Jesus is not saying this to condemn. We have to remember sometimes Jesus convicts us because He wants us to turn from our sin and turn back to His heart. Remember, every word that comes from the mouth of God is a word, by its very nature, of love. A word of love. And He's calling out to us today. Don't think that you can remain comfortable where you're at. You realize we're either, when we're in terms of the spiritual life, we're either moving towards God or we're moving away from God. There's no neutral. There's no neutral. It's like a river. We have to either be swimming upstream or else, if we're just standing still, the current will take us downstream. So we're either moving towards God or we're moving away. And Jesus is saying, you can't stay comfortable where you're at. Turn back to me. Come back to me with all your heart. Don't let fear keep us apart. You may have heard that song somewhere before. May we truly allow Christ, even as painful as it will be, allow Him to pierce our hearts and to show us the ways where we need to turn away from the things of this world, the things of our own, the things of Satan, which are drawing us away from Him, so that we can then say, okay, God, help me. Be merciful. Give me the courage then to start swimming upstream towards your heart.